And welcome to another edition of Scott Wheeler's Airplay. This is episode number 14, if you're keeping score at home. It's another edition of Airplay where we go behind the scenes to meet various radio and TV personalities that you listen to and watch on a daily basis, but get to know them a little better behind the scenes. I'm Scott Wheeler from Super Hits WIRL, and today my pleasure to have a guy who I first got to know when he worked for KZ93. Remember those call letters back in the early 90s? He's a Peoria guy, and now he is working for a set of legendary Peoria call letters. It's Rik Blade from the Rik and Roxie morning show on WWCT 99.9. Also does a midday show for KissFM 98.5. Rik, welcome.
Thank you very much. It's an honor to be here.
Can you think back to 30 years ago when you were just a baby DJ at KZ93?
I like to see the visuals, but I don't like to remember the audio because, it's funny. It was, I still have some tapes from back those days, and I sound like I'm 7. And I've never really had like the big booming radio guy voice, but I listen to those things. I'm like, how did anybody ever let me behind a microphone? But that's, I grew up in Peoria listening to KZ93, one of the guys that I admired growing up, and then also Rock 106, WWCT back in the day, and now to be able, back then, to work at KZ93, and then now for WWCT, it's like come full circle. Mm-hmm.
So I remember you being in Springfield, but you're originally from Peoria, right?
Yep.
So Spaulding High School and the whole bit?
Spaulding High School for 3 years. That's when we moved to Springfield, was my senior year of high school. Okay. My dad took a job down there, and Mom both took jobs down in Springfield, so we transplanted then. But for the most part, Peoria was always my home. I'd come back whenever I could because I had all my friends here, all the kids I grew up with, over on, right off of Bradley campus is where we grew up. Mm-hmm. So I had a bunch of friends from Whittier and St. Mark's, and then down to Spaulding. So that was a tough transition. I think a lot of that led me to being more open because I was kind of reserved, nerdy kind of kid in high school. But then when you change schools and that, you better open up or you're not going to have any friends. So I think that really helped me come out of my shell a little bit to be able to do what I do now.
Were you a athlete, baseball player?
I was a baseball player in high school, and then down in Springfield, I played junior college baseball.
Cool.
But that was a cool experience too, getting to play sports, and both Peoria and Springfield have fantastic athletes that have come out with. Sure. From back in Little League, I played with Jim Tomey all the way.
Did you really?
Oh yeah, we were at the West Peoria Little League together. He was a year younger than me. Could hit the ball a little better than I did too.
A little bit?
Just a skosh. Yeah. I remember when he actually made it, I remember thinking back, and Jim, I'm sorry if you see this or hear about this, but he had big, he's got the red hair, but he had big red curls that would pop out the side of his hat. Like he looked like Bozo the Clown. Don't come after me, Jim. But he was like no other player. He just hit the ball so far and so hard every time. It's like he was 11 years old going on 20 at the time. Mm-hmm. And obviously it worked out for him.
What position did you play?
I was a shortstop, second baseman. He was a shortstop at that time. Uh-huh. And we played on competing teams. Okay. So we were on a lot of all-star teams together, but it was just and I pitched every now and again too, which was scary. It's just like want to underhand it and back out of the way like a softball player does.
Especially to Tomey.
Yeah.
So after KZ, you went to Springfield. How many years did you spend down there?
Altogether, I left KZ93 in 1991, or late 1990. And then I was in Springfield actually on the air till 2005.
Okay.
So I spent 14 years down there between a couple of different radio stations.
Okay. So you came back to Peoria about that time then?
No, I actually got out of the business for a while. I had a bit, like any other business, you get a sour taste in your mouth when something goes south. Mm-hmm. So I got out for a while, and I did I sold cars. I tried selling insurance. I sold appliances. And nothing was near as fun.
Rik Blade's Happy House of Appliances.
Come on down! No joke. Sears.
Yeah.
But it's just, they tell you when you get in, even on a very limited basis into the radio business, that it gets in your blood, and it really does. Every day I missed it. I would clamor. I'm working in retail. I'm like, let me make the announcements. Just I'm almost on the microphone. That's how it was. I'd be like, hey, everybody, great specials in the appliance department today. Just give me a microphone.
Someone would say, you ought to be on the radio.
And it's like, I was. Sad face emoji. But and then I got an opportunity. I actually was back here and I ran into the operations manager for Advanced Media Partners. And I'm like, dude, whatever. I'll do 2 o'clock in the morning on Sunday if I have to. Just let me back in.
It's like starting all over again.
And it really was. Yeah. But then, it's in your blood, and I've just worked back to where I want to be, and I'm so stoked.
So you actually do 2 different radio stations.
Yes, I do.
You get up at 3:45 in the morning and do the morning show on WWCT with Roxie.
Who is just a rock star in this town. She's involved with so much with the community. So I make the joke that it's the Roxie morning show with that one guy pressing her buttons, because we're relatively new. We've only been at it for 3 weeks together.
So how's getting up that early? Have you done that before?
Well, I did mornings for a number of years down in Springfield, so it's nothing new. It's just, back when I'm 30 years old, I could go out and hang out at the bar till 2 o'clock in the morning, go home for 3 hours sleep, get up, bing, bang, boom, off with your day. A little different now.
Yeah,
the clock strikes 9. I'm like, why am I not in bed yet?
I've done mornings twice. The first time I was 22. The second time I was 46. Nowhere near the same experience.
It's truly not. It's a different animal.
Yeah.
But again,
the difference is a lot of people get up early, but not a lot of people have to get up early and then be happy about it.
Flip a switch.
Yes.
Yeah. And people always ask me. That's the biggest thing. People ask, how can you be so in such a good mood so early in the morning? I'm like, if I start up here, all the stuff that happens that drags me to here, as opposed to starting here and ending up way down here. So
that and coffee.
Yeah.
Are you a coffee
drinker?
drinker?
Not a coffee drinker. Mountain Dew all day long.
Same effect.
Yeah. Caffeinate me, please.
So, in addition to WWCT, you also do the midday show on 98.5 KissFM. Kind of 2 different worlds, definitely, in terms of audience and so forth.
It really is. With WWCT, we call it, it's world-class rock. It's more of an independent type, newer music, introducing people, help them discover new types of music. Whereas Kiss FM is more the pop music, the top 40. That's why I'm grateful I have a 13-year-old son. He keeps me young. He really does.
I was just going to say, how do you, and I've been in this position too, when you're older, how do you relate and stay relevant to that audience?
Well, just as well as anybody in this business that social media plays a huge part now where, when we started, there was no such thing as even a computer in your house. God, we're old. But
I had a calculator.
Yes,
come on.
Well, yeah, but it was this big.
Cost $1,000.
But so staying with what's going on socially, what's trending, you can keep an eye on things going on. But again, I really attribute it to my son. He's 13 years old. He's got his finger on the pulse. He knows what music is hot and new and what's coming, and he's on all these different apps that the cool things happen on and the trends come from. And the ice bucket challenge originated online. Now they've got the bottle cap challenge. All these things that people are doing to try and be relevant, he exposes me to, so I can pretend I'm relevant too.
So I don't know the bottle cap challenge. Help me out.
Well, now the thing is, a lot of the actors and actresses started it. You take a water bottle, a whiskey bottle, a beer bottle, and you kick and just try and knock the cap off without knocking over said bottle.
Wow.
Yeah.
Don't try this at home.
I haven't, and nor will I, but I'll watch other people do it all day long. But it's gone to where, actors and actresses, martial artists, Jason Statham, one of the big ones, has done it, and it's just amazing to watch him do this. And then you got, like me, I'll just kick the bottle through the wall. And
it's a waste of a good Mountain Dew.
Absolutely. I'm not ditching my Mountain Dew for nobody. I don't need to be internet famous.
So, Where would you say popular music is right now? I've always subscribed to the theory that it kind of goes in waves. It can be very rock leaning, it can be very pop or dance leaning, it can go through what are sometimes called the doldrums, and then somebody will come back with a boy band or whatever that's hot and kind of relaunch it. I have to tell you, for the first time in my life, I'm struggling a little bit to get it.
It's weird because I've lived through so many of those ups and downs, that roller coaster ride that you spoke of back in the mid 90s when I was really getting into doing mornings, and that was a glorious time in radio. You're out 5 nights a week shaking hands, kissing babies with live events and doing remotes at local clubs or what have you. But that was a very rock leaning time. That was Gin Blossoms, Sister Hazels, Blessed Unions of Souls type bands, pop alternative, they call it. Spin Doctors, another big one.
Yeah.
And then it kind of went the boy band in the late 90s. Right. And then now, to me, a lot of this, I don't know if it's the Me Too movement or what, but these female artists, the Ariana Grandes, the Taylor Swifts, Camila Cabello, Halsey, artists like that you may or may not have heard of. 98.5 Kiss FM, 9 to noon, Monday through Friday. But they're taking charge. They're singing about things that 30 years ago female singers wouldn't sing about. Relationships and bad experiences and social consciousness. Things that it's not bubblegum anymore. It's real life.
Right.
And I think people are gravitating to that. Plus, you've got these amazingly powerful voices, too. So I think right now, girls rule, guys drool.
Well, actually, it's a cool thing to see because I think for years, and there are some radio formats that still struggle with this, where frankly there's discrimination against female artists. And you probably remember this, there used to be a day where the thinking was, do not play 2 female artists back to back.
Right.
Remember that?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That just seems crazy to me now.
Some of the rules that we used to have to abide by are a little nuts to think about. And and then conversely, you look at with WWCT, all the new music, it's almost it reminds me of what could have happened 50 years ago with Woodstock type artists. It's very, again, social consciousness. You even look at local bands like the Way Down Wanderers.
Right.
Those guys, it's a down home sound. It's something unlike any other band you might hear out and about at a bar or a club. But the music hits home because lyrics are what matters now. I think 20 years ago, people would be artist-centric. I like this person, so I'll like all their music. Now it's so much more song-centric because so many people have so many different places to get their music. They'll hear a song, they like that song, they'll go grab it digitally or what have you. So it's more about the songs now, and that's why I think a lot of these artists are being successful because they can have one thing that hits home, and they're off and running.
You do have to explain Cardi B to me, though.
When someone explains her to me, I'll explain it to you. She here's everybody else, and here's Cardi B out over here. Again, that's just something. Every now and again, you'll get an artist, I look back, Cher, followed by Madonna, those type artists, they just come and kick the door open and say, I'm here, like me, because this is what you got.
Right.
And people are doing it. I don't know that I understand Cardi B, but I think that's part of the allure. I don't know that I want to understand her. Just do your thing, sister.
Yeah. So what's the show like, the morning show on WWCT with Roxie? What do you guys do?
It's so community involved. With Advanced Media Partners, we're locally owned. So everything is about community with the radio station, whether it be, just this morning on the show, we had talking about a St. Jude fundraiser this weekend with Kids Money Madness.
Oh, yeah.
We'll always talk to people about what's going on down the street, where there's a lot of shows out there that are piped in from other places. That's another big difference from when we were younger.
Yeah.
But I've always thought that the best way to approach serving your community is to have a show that is in your community and talks about your community. And that's what we try to do. Again, with Roxie Baker, everybody knows Roxie from so many things that she does around town. She's a former JC president. She's high up in the ranks of the Heart of Illinois Fair. She's involved with so many things that go on in the community. She is just a plethora of information and contacts. So she's got her finger on the pulse of everything that's going on. She likes to go out and hear live music. So she'll introduce me to a band that I've not heard of, whether it be local or she goes to a festival and hears somebody that is coming down the pike on a national level. We just try to be as progressive as possible. I mean, we're really in the infancy. We're 3 weeks in, so I can't really explain what the show's about other than trying to be real. I'm very self-deprecating. I'll make fun of myself all day long. I mean, I'm a huge nerd. I'm a Marvel fan and Harry Potter and, all the geek stuff in the world signed me up. Because, again, I got 3 boys. That's what keeps me in their loop.
So I raised 3 girls. Help me out with what 3 boys are. What is that like? I mean, is it constant video games and computers in your house?
Seriously, we have 3 video game systems.
Oh my God.
3 different video game systems, each on its own TV. So we literally will take turns, up, switch. It's like a Chinese fire drill sometimes in the house. There's some computer stuff. There's a lot of anime. I don't know if you're familiar with anime, a lot of cartoons, and again, Marvel movies. The 2 older boys, I got two in college and 1 in 8th grade. The older boys know that when the next Marvel movie comes out, like coming up this weekend, it's time to all get together because Spider-Man's out.
Yep.
That's our get together, and then we'll go out to eat and hang out. Then the older boys will go back to their girlfriends and their jobs and their schooling. But I can be the cool dad for a few hours at least.
Yeah. So what's your pizza bill every month?
Oh, don't even. It's funny because I'm on all these rewards programs. We eat so much pizza that I don't buy a pizza from about 4 different establishments, and they start calling me, "Hey, you all right? Is everything okay? We haven't heard from you in a few days."
Go-to pizza place for you in Peoria?
Oh, man. Pizza Works. I got to get Peoria Pizza Works. Their Chicago-style deep dish, get out of town.
Yeah.
Oh, that stuff's ridiculous. I introduced my 13-year-old to that. Now he won't let me take him anyplace else.
Yeah, good choice. Been around a long time.
Yeah. And again, I love being home.
Yeah.
This is the place where my folks used to take me when I was a kid. It's like tradition.
So, most embarrassing moment for you on the air. Can you think about a time where it just, and we got to keep this PG here. But.
Oh, no, certainly. I think the biggest thing was, and my mother reminds me of this all the time, I am not a fan of storms.
Okay.
Not when I'm by myself. I got the kids, I got to be dad, and I'm strong, and we're fine. Well, I was on the air the first time in a severe storm down in Springfield, and the radio station was literally on what's called Route 54. It was out in the middle of nowhere off Route 54. So back in the day, we had the teletype where we'd pull the warnings off of basically a dot matrix printer. And so I'm reading on the air, a tornado warning has been issued for Sangamon County. A tornado was spotted on Route 54 near Spaulding. I'm literally a block from that. So I pause, take a breath, and continue to tell people how this storm will have strong winds and large hair.
That's pretty good.
Never saw the hair, but yeah, that was my first foray into what?
Don't you love it that we're reading these announcements and it's like out the window, but we don't have a window?
Right, it really was. I'm like, all right, if I'm gone in 4 minutes, you'll know why, because I just told you it landed on top of me with its large hair and all.
That's pretty good. Android or Apple guy?
I'm an Android guy.
You are?
And all my kids are Apple guys, and they just tell me that's the part of dad that's really uncool.
Cool, yeah. So on your Android device, what kind of music do you have loaded on there? Because, boy, you really are. It's kind of like the guys who do country and rock. It's like, well, what are you into? Is it Broadway show tunes somewhere in between?
It's funny you bring that up. I love all kinds of music. I would have to say my favorite bands, and this will blow a lot of people's minds, if you know the Bodines. Love the Bodines, always have. Motley Crue. Okay. And I do really enjoy show tunes.
Do you really?
Oh, love music.
I'm with you.
Love musical theater. My favorite musical all time is West Side Story, followed very closely by Rent. I've seen Rent now 11 times.
Dude, we're right together
I'm
on
telling you,
that.
it's
West Side
amazing.
Story is that for me. I still sing Maria in the kitchen.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I actually got to be in a theater center play musical, West Side Story.
Were you a jet or a shark?
I was a shark. I was Bernardo's lieutenant, Pepe.
Wow.
I had to wear full body makeup too.
Yeah, I could see you pulling that off. Well, this has been
so much fun.
We've been talking to Rik Blade, who is the co-host of the morning show on 99.9 WWCT. It's just fun to say those call letters, even though I've never worked there.
It so is. Again, I'm the luckiest cat on the planet because I got to work at the 2 radio stations I grew up listening to. And actually, when I moved to Springfield, the 3, because WDBR in Springfield was my go-to when I lived down there. And I got to live every kid's dream. I got to be on the radio at all the places I grew up listening to. I can't argue with it.
Also hosts the Midday Show on 98.5 KissFM, so listen to him either place or both. This has been another edition of Scott Wheeler's Airplay. Remember, we air on Peoria Life's web portal, also Facebook, Peoria Life on YouTube. You can also catch us on Channel 17 Peoria TV on the i3 broadband system and lots of other places. Until next time, this is Scott Wheeler for Super Hits WIRL and Airplay.
PeoriaLife.com